Hello everyone, welcome back to the latest of my video tutorials. This time it's the turn of administering SharePoint Online. So remember, if you like what you see, go ahead, click on that subscribe button and don't miss a thing. So, are you ready to learn? Let's go. Hi there, I'm Andy Malone. I'm a Microsoft MVP as well as a Microsoft certified trainer. You know, Microsoft SharePoint started out back in 2001 as the Digital Dashboard project, and now it's grown to be an integral part of Microsoft 365. But just how to administer it? How do we start? Where do we start? Well, I thought in this tutorial we'll have a nice deep dive session. So let's begin. So here we are in Microsoft 365, and the first place we're going to go down to is we're going to go into the Admin Center. So in here, I'm going to click into Admin. And here we are in the Admin Center. Now, just a reminder that everybody who subscribes with 365 gets SharePoint pretty much, except home users. So what we're looking at here for administration is to go into Show All. If I scroll down, I'm going to come in here to the SharePoint Admin Center. Now please note that the SharePoint Admin Center also gives you access to the OneDrive Admin Center. You can get to this directly by going to admin.onedrive.com. So here we are on the main, this is the new next generation SharePoint Admin Center, and it looks really nice, and you can see we have this card-based system. So it shows you all your views, and you've also got like a usage report here and a lifetime file activity report. Now again, just going up to the question mark will take you to docs.microsoft.com if you want to know more. The other thing that you've got here is you've also got a little overview of exactly what you're viewing. Now, SharePoint also has its own message center from Microsoft. So these are any kind of updates and things that are going online, anything new, this is where they'll appear. And also the service health. Please note this is the service health in your own data center. So if you're in the UK, it'll be a data center in the UK, if you're in the US, and so on. Okay. If you want to go into that further, by the way, you can go in and view all the services. Okay, so the first place we're going to go is sites. So we've got a number of menu items here, and the first place that we look at is we've got sites. Now, if you've seen previous videos of mine, you'll also know that when you create an Office or Microsoft 365 group, as they're now known, you also create a Microsoft SharePoint team site. And you know what type of website it's going to be because you can see that you've got different templates. So different websites use different templates. Now, one of the really nice things about this active sites page is it shows you the name of the website, where it's located in SharePoint, the size, how much storage you've used up. It shows you who's the primary admin of the site. We also have a feature called a hub site, which I'll explain in a second. Shows you the template, when it was last activated. I'd just like to point out that I'm using a demo, so a series of demos. That's the reason why I've got nobody activity there. When was it created? Who created it by? And again, you can also scroll over here. You can see I need to move over my screen a little bit there. But you can, and then you can filter, so I can view, do I want to see all sites? Do I want to see Microsoft 365 groups? Show me the largest sites in the company, the least active sites? And that's really useful because within SharePoint, everybody can create Microsoft 365 groups. And occasionally you might find one that not many people use. So it's a great way of locating kind of sites that you don't really need to keep anymore. Okay. So the first thing that we need to do, of course, is we need to go and create a new website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the new website option. I can create what we call a team site or a communication site. Again, these are from templates. We also have other options as well. So I mentioned that this is the new next gen admin center. If you want to go back to traditional templates, then there are a whole bunch of different templates here. Okay, so these are the more kind of traditional type templates. For the purpose of this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back and I'm going to say, yeah, I want to create a team site here. Now, I live in Stirling in Scotland, so I'm just going to call this my Stirling HQ site. Okay. And you can see it puts in the navigation here, and it also creates, or it asks you, do you want to create a Microsoft 365 group with this? So you have the option to do so, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just say, yeah, that's fine. Now I'm actually logged in as a user called Mod here, and I'm also got a user called Megan. So I'm going to add a couple of owners to this website. Okay. Now, just a word about owners. Owners can invite guests. So by default, group owners are a member of the guest inviter role, which means if you're allowed, so if it's part of your company policy to allow external guests, then you can have those guests in there if you want that. You can choose a language, of course, for your website, and you have some additional settings. And this really kind of blends into Microsoft 365 groups, which is really nice. And if you've not seen that video, go ahead and check out that video in the link at the end of this video. Now, privacy settings, is it going to be public? So can anybody, and that means including external guests, join? Or is it just private, so organizational members only? For the purpose of this demo, I'll keep it at private. You can choose your time zone. So again, here I've got my time zone here. So I can scroll down and I can say, yeah, I'm actually in the UK here. So I can go ahead and I can choose London. There we go. I can put in a description in there if I want to. That's quite useful if people are gaining access to the website. And I'll click next. Okay, do I want to add in any additional owners or some members? Well, yeah, I want to add in, I've got a group called Sales. I can add members in. Actually, tell you what I'll do. So I've got a user called Alex. So I'm going to add in Alan as well. I've got a user called, just bring her in, and Alex, and we'll just go for those two. I can't remember the other names. Okay, so I'll click on finish. And you can see I've now gone ahead and created that group. So if I scroll down, now sometimes with groups and websites, just takes a little bit of time to come through. So it's probably worth just going up and just say, okay, let's just do a quick refresh of the screen. So I'm just going to refresh that page. And now when I scroll down, you can now see that I do have, in fact, my Stirling HQ. Now, you can see the menu here is still saying, do you want to export? That means I can export this list. But look what happens when I go ahead and select it. So this is what we call context-sensitive menus now appear. So I can now go and I can create, for example, a sub-site within here. So if you want to have multiple sites, you can do that. You can manage the site permissions. And we have something called a hub site. So what does first of all, let me do the administration, then I'll come back and talk about the hub site. So I'm going to click into the website itself. and you can see that the site name, again, I can edit that, I can change that. At the moment, I'm not associated with a hub. Because I created the site as a group, you can see that it's connected, and there's the URL. So if I click on that, you can see it will now take me to the website. There's not much here at the moment, okay, but this is the website, and it looks very nice. And you can change everything about the site, by the way. You can customize that. You can change the logo here, the look of it, the put in the description, everything. Activity, again, fantastic for administration. You can see exactly what's going on, when the last activity was. So, you know, occasionally sites are created and you might find, hey, this site's not been used for a number of years. So you might decide to archive it or even delete it eventually. Coming to permissions. So here's my initial permissions that I set up. So I can add in additional administrators. I can also add in site members, and if the site is allowed to have visitors, i.e. external guests, then this is where these guys will appear here as well. In policies here, I've got this section called external sharing. I'm going to come back to that in a couple of seconds. So first of all then, what can we do about this site? Can we customize this site in any way? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into the actual website as well here. Now, in terms of the actual website, everything here is customizable. Remember, all of this came from a template. Now, the one thing that we do also have here at the bottom is, because my tenancy includes a license for Microsoft Teams, it's saying, do you want to add this Microsoft 365 group? Because Microsoft 365 groups, of course, we get a shared document library, you get a shared email, you get shared calendars, shared planner, and all of that. It's very, very interactive. It's awesome. So one thing is, it's saying, hey, do you want to extend the capabilities of that Microsoft 365 group to become a Microsoft team? Okay, so yes, I do. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and now that extends the capabilities of the group to be a Microsoft team, and I can now go and work with that. Okay, actually just cancel that. Okay, so you can see that we have a number of, these are called apps in here, of course. We have a little bit of activity, seeing things what's going on. You've got your SharePoint document library here, so I can create documents. I can drag and drop documents in here for my group to work with. Up here, you can see that we have a little wheel on the top right hand corner here, the little wheel, and this indicates my settings. So I can go in, for example, I can add a page, I can add an app. Remember, these are the apps. You can also customize the site contents, things like site information. You can even do things like change the look of the website. Okay, so for example, I can change the theme. So you can change the different color scheme. You know, I like green. There's not enough green in the world. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And you can also, there's different designs that you can choose as well. So again, if you, depending on the template that you've used, of course, some designs may be available for you. All right, so you can see that the site has now gone green. The other thing that we can also do is you can view the site performance and the usage, just like you could in the list of a website. You've got the site information, the contents. I can add pages here. Now it says here, do you want to view all? So this is a subset of the website permissions. Now when we talk about permissions, folks, there are different levels of permissions. So obviously as a user, you don't have any admin permissions. If you are a tenant admin, i.e. a tenant to Microsoft 365, then you will have access to the Microsoft 365. We also have a group, and you can, or a role rather. So for example, if I went into roles here, we have different roles within the organization. So for example, if I made you a SharePoint admin, then you would have the capability to go into the SharePoint admin portal and manage all aspects of SharePoint from the tenant level. Okay. Now, stepping down another level, because I've created a website now and I've made, let's say I've made you an owner, that means that you have access to administer this website. You see, so it's quite granular in nature. All right. So you get a subset of the settings here. I can also click into these are the Office 365 settings. I can hide them if I want to. And as I said, you can add apps, you can have a look at the site contents. So when we go into the site contents, you can see I've got my documents, you've got templates here, and of course you can add in other types of content as well if you want to. So you can add in a subsite, for example. Okay, so that is my Sterling HQ site. So I'm just going to click onto that. And when I click onto the name of the site, you can see that it brings up details about the site. I've got the link to the site here. I've also got the email. So for example, if I didn't have permission to this site, I could go off and I could send an email to the administrator and then request that permission. All right. So other things that we've got, you've also got a recycle bin. So again, in the recycle bin here, if I've deleted any content from the website, I could select that content and I could then restore it back. Typically, it goes into the recycle bin for about 30 days. Okay. So that's just a little bit about the end user stuff here. Okay. So I'm just going to close that website down. And now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually going to go ahead and create another website. And I'm going to use this time, again, this similar thing. But this time I'm going to create it and I'm going to call this my Sterling Finance Team. Okay. And again, I could enter a group owner if I want to. Again, I'll just use my own username here. English is the language, of course, and I'll just accept the rest of the settings. I'm quite happy. It's going to go ahead. I'll finish that. And you can now see I've created called Sterling Finance Team. Okay, so again, I've got two websites called Sterling. Now, what I want to do here is I'm going to select the Sterling HQ site, and we have this feature called a hub site. Now, a hub site, this rocks, by the way. So what I can do is associate this site as a hub. Okay, so this is now my hub site, and I can say who can associate people, sites with a hub. I'm just going to choose myself. You can add in other people if you want to. So what does a hub site mean? Well, I'm going to go into my Sterling HQ site and just open this site up. So basically what it means is the layout, the color schemes, the menus, anything that you configure here as a hub site will now waterfall through to any associated sites. And what I can do is I can now go to the Sterling Finance Team and I can say, hey, I now want to associate this with a hub site. So, and I can now say, okay, which hub site do you want to do? And I want to associate it with the Sterling hub site and click on Save. Okay. And that is now associated with the Sterling hub site. And the thing is, you can disconnect and reconnect and connect any sites that you want, and they'll share common menus, colors, settings, layouts, and so on. It rocks. It really does. Okay, so hub sites, fantastic. All right, a great way to organize content as well. Okay. Alrighty, so that is the websites. Now, just a quick thing. Let's say, for example, I've got a site here. Let's say my Sterling Finance team, and for one reason or another, I've decided, hey, I don't need this team anymore. So what I can now do is I can say, okay, do I want to delete this team? So I can say, yeah, I don't need this anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say delete this team. And you can see it's also saying, do you want to delete the group as well, or just the Microsoft team or everything? So I'm going to say, yes, I do. It doesn't delete the users, of course. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Okay. And that's now gone. So when I come now back into sites and go into deleted sites, sure enough, here's my Sterling Finance team here. So of course, as I said, it can stay in here for about 30 days. And to restore, of course, I just simply go in here. And now I can set, now the reason, by the way, it's the permanently delete is not there is because there's no content in it. There needs to be some content in it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say, yes, I want to restore this back. I realized I made a mistake and it's now restoring everything back. Okay. So now when I go back to active sites and scroll down, sure enough, they're both there. Okay. And you can see it's reassociated with that hub site. Okay. So moving on, one of the most important things that I can teach you is the sharing policies. You have to understand sharing in SharePoint and as part of Microsoft 365. Everything talks to it, okay? For more details on this, I did a session on Microsoft 365 groups and also guests. So Microsoft guests, check out that video that deals with all the external components. But what I want to show you is just a couple of things. Remember, these are the tenant settings. Okay, so at the moment, anyone, you have 4 levels here. I'm just going to go through this briefly because I've covered it in the guests video. But basically, anyone can share content. Now, the problem with that is if you are a guest, that means an external user, then you will also have the capability to share my content. So I would very quickly be able to lose control. So the other option is new and existing guests. Okay, so there's 2 ways that you can create guests in Microsoft 365. So just very quickly go up here and I'm going to come into Azure Active Directory. And in Azure Active Directory here, if I click into users, these are my users here, and look up here, it says new guest user. So that means that the administrator has gone ahead and created that guest. Now the other person who can invite is, well, obviously a SharePoint admin, and also other users who can invite have a special role here. And if I just show all roles, this role is called the, here we go, it's called the guest inviter role. Okay, the guest inviter. So basically any members of your team who have the guest inviter role can invite external guests. Okay, and yeah, so again, really, really important. So just be aware of that. Okay, so new and existing guests, that means that basically if an administrator has created guests and as an owner, I've invited you. Okay. Existing guests, however, means that only users that have been pre-created. So if you've got some kind of mechanism in your company to request guests, a guest can join, then you might need to fill in a form, give the form to the administrator creates the user. You understand? Remember, this is for the tenant, so this impacts every website. So this means internal only, so only people in your organization. In other words, I can't share this content with anyone outside my organization. All right. Now, a good kind of tip is probably this option here. So new and existing guests, that would allow guests to be invited by owners and also by administrators, whereas your anonymous sharing would be disabled. Okay, and then you've just got some little settings here as well, but typically you would save those settings for the tenant. So that's the sharing settings, really important there, folks. Now, why is that important there? So if I now go back to a website, so if I come back down, let's say to my Sterling Finance team here, and I'm going to click onto that, and I now have, well, you can do this in a number of ways. I can either click sharing, or I can go into the website, it's the options itself, and I can click in policies, and you get the same option here. So 6.5 a dozen. So if I click on edit here, look, you get those same 4 options, but look here now. So from the team, this particular site is not allowed. It's picking it, the setting up from the tenant level, whereas new and existing guests, that's the default. Now, because this is the finance team, you might say only people within the organization are allowed to view that content. So no external users for this particular website. All right. So very important, ladies and gentlemen, that you understand that you set permissions at the tenant level in policies, so sharing here, and then at the site level within there. Okay. Okay. So that's my policies, and you can see you can do SharePoint and you can also do OneDrive as well. Okay. Now, if you have, depending on the license that you have, you can also configure access control for mobile devices. So if you're using mobile device management, and if you're interested in this, I'm not going to cover that here. I covered this in a previous video, and it's also in my endpoint manager video. So go ahead and check that out. Alrighty. Okay, so if I click into settings, you can see that these are the default settings here. So again, for example, if I said site creation, putting in the default settings here for site creation, things like which is the, I'm using the new SharePoint Admin Center as opposed to the old type. I would recommend, try and get familiar with the new interfaces. So I recently did a video on administering Exchange Online and Endpoint Manager Online. It's best to always try and keep yourself up to date by using the latest interfaces. Okay. Okay, next then we have content services, and we have something called the term store here. So what is the term store? The term store, think of the term store. So if you're working in File Explorer in Windows, then you'll be familiar with the C drive. And in the C drive, you'll have different folders. So you'll have a folder called data. Within data, you might have one called personnel, marketing, different folders. So the term store is really the structure of your organization. And this allows you to build out a structure. So, you can have, for example, different departments here. And what that does, it facilitates the search capabilities of 365, and it's got some fantastic search capabilities. So this is basically what a taxonomy means. It means the structure of your organization. So you can choose these, these tags. You can create something called job title, and within here I could say, okay, an accountant. You can choose, the language, the usage settings. Is it going to accept numeric or alphanumeric capabilities, and so on? All right, and so you can add and remove these search capabilities. So basically, the term store is the structure of your content. You also have something called the content gallery here, which for some reason is not working right here. There we go. Never mind. You can create different types of content, again, depending on your needs and your roles. For some reason, this has been a bit flaky the last couple of days. I don't think that's going to work for my demo today, so I'm going to leave that just now. Now, if you currently have SharePoint or any of these storage systems, then we have a number of tools here. So for file shares, you can migrate content across. So this is called the Migration Manager. And you also have some other options as well. So if you're using SharePoint Server on premises here, there is a migration tool that you will need to download. Okay, we also have a tool called Mover, which essentially you connect to your old storage location, put in your username and password, connect to your new storage solution, put your username and password, and essentially move the content over. And it's pretty simple. I could maybe perhaps do a session on this in the future, but it's pretty self-explanatory, very, very simple to use. Okay. Just to let you know that the more features, these are legacy features in SharePoint that haven't been migrated into the new portal yet. Okay. If I have to be honest with you, the only thing that you might use here is the hybrid picker. The hybrid picker is where you have SharePoint Server on premises already. Okay. So, that allows you, how do you want to integrate? Do you want to have a hybrid solution with that? You can also customize the navigation options here as well. And again, you can save that. There is also some additional options, and you can see as these get migrated over, you will get more and more of these settings coming across there. So there you have it, Microsoft SharePoint, a really important component in Microsoft 365. I really hope you've enjoyed this session. If you have, remember, subscribe and don't miss a thing. Until next time, I'm Andy Malone. You stay safe. Remember, if you like what you've seen, go ahead and subscribe and check out these other related videos. Thanks again.